Hello children, today we will talk about a new topics from the chapters called Federalisms. So my dear children, today I shall be telling you in very details that what makes India a federal country. So dear children, in our previous videos lectures we have already seen that how a country like Belgium and Sri Lanka faced many problems in managing social diversity. So just think about India. In India also we see the diversified culture, we see the diversity of religion, we see the diversity of many languages. So how we are managing the social diversity in our country, we shall be looking into that. So dear children, as we know that after the independence there was a very painful situations, and after getting independence from colonial power in Indian society, we adopted the democratic systems, and in this democratic systems we see the federal systems as well as the federal structures in Indian society. So dear children, here there are two questions which comes into mind. The first question is, what makes India a federal country, or what are the power sharing arrangement in our country? So dear children, the Indian society is also having the diversity of culture, the diversity of religion, the diversity of regions, the diversity of different cultural backgrounds. So in such situations, how we are managing this social diversity in the society, let us discuss in details. So let us begin with the constitutions of India. And the constitutions of India which gives or which declares India is a union of states. It do not use the word federations very directly, but we have the federal structures, but we are using the terms as union of states, because the constitutions of India which gives India as a union of states, or which declare India as a union of states. So here the constitutions of India which provides two tier of systems of government, that is known as the union government, the state government, and later on there was a third tier of government which was added in the forms of Panchayat Raj systems as well as the municipality. So later on we see the provincial government which was seen in Indian society, which is in the form of municipality as well as in the form of Panchayat Raj system. So dear children, these different tiers of government who are enjoying separate jurisdictions, they have a legal powers, they have a legal authority which has been given by the constitutions of India. That is why as we see that these different types of government which enjoys these separate jurisdictions. And here the constitutions of India further it provide the threefold distributions of power between the union government, the state government, okay, at the same time the provincial government which I have already told you about, that is known as the municipal corporations as well as the Panchayat Raj systems. So here when we have the three tier of power distributions in our nations, it is containing the three lists here, and according to these three lists the power distributions are happening in our country. The first list contain or which includes the union list, and in this union list we see the subject which is related to national importance, which is such as defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking systems, communication systems, at the same time currency. So dear children, here we see the union list, and in this union list the union government has power to make law on the related subjects which is coming under the category of national importance, that is such as defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking systems, communication systems, as well as the currency. So here the union government all alone can make law which are mentioned in union list. So dear children, this is the power arrangements which we see in our nations, and according to the power arrangements we see the three lists. First one the union list, second one is the state list, and third one is the concurrent list. Let us talk about the state list now. So dear children, right now we will continue with the state list, and in state list it contains the subjects which is they are in local importance, that is such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture and irrigation. So here in the state list the state governments has powers to make law on the subjects, that is such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture and irrigations. Then after that we see the concurrent list, and in concurrent list both the government has powers to make laws. And in concurrent list we see the subjects that are including educations, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoptions and succession. So dear children, here we see the union government as well as the state government, they both can make law on the subjects, that is such as educations, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoptions as well as successions. So here when both governments has the legal authority to make laws on these, but when the both governments are making law and both of the laws are conflicting to each other, during that time the union government laws can be prevail, or the union government's laws can be valid here. Apart from that, dear children, we see the residuary subjects, and in these residuary subjects, that is such as computer software. So the computer softwares, it is the subjects which came into being after the constitutions was made. So here in this residuary subject, in this residuary subjects, we see the union government has all alone to make laws on the subjects like computer software. So dear children, this is how the power distributions are happening in Indian society. Already we have discussed about the union list. In union list there are certain subjects, and those subjects where the union government has powers to make law. So in this state list, the state government will make law which are seen in local importance, and at the same time we see the concurrent list, and in the concurrent list both the government has legal authority to make laws here. And if the laws which are made by both government are conflicting to each other, during that time the union government laws will be valid here. Apart from that, I have told you about the residuary subjects, and in these residuary subjects there are certain subjects like computer softwares, it came into being when the constitutions was made. It came into later. That is the reasons here the union government has powers to make laws on residuary subjects. So dear children, so in these federation structures, as we see, we have the holding together federations, and in these holding together federations, it do not give equal powers to all its constituent units in the nations. So here, all states in India, it do not have identical powers. There are some special states who enjoys the special status here, that is known as the Jammu and Kashmir. So here, the Jammu and Kashmir, they have been given a special status here. And here, the Jammu and Kashmir, they are having their own constitutions, and many of the Indian constitutions that are not suitable or that are not applicable in these states. That is the reasons many of the Indian constitutions which are not going to be applicable without the approval of the state legislative assembly. Because we see in Jammu and Kashmir there is entirely a different cultural backgrounds. That is a special status have been given to Jammu and Kashmir. And here the most special things we notice in Jammu and Kashmir, that the Indians who are not permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir, they cannot purchase land in Jammu and Kashmir. Unless we become the permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir, we cannot purchase house as well as land in Jammu and Kashmir. But in 2019, my dear children, the abrogations of Article 370 was made on 5 August 2019, and after that it given special status to Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir was coming under the category of Union Territories of India. So dear children, since it is coming under the Union Territories of India, we see the central government who is controlling these Union Territories of India, that is such as Jammu and Kashmir. So dear children, here we see this is how the power distributions that are happening in our nations. Apart from that, my dear children, there are certain units of the Indian unions which enjoy very little powers, and they are very small to become these independent state here. They are such as Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, Delhi. So these are coming under the controls of the Union Territories. So here the Chandigarhs, the Lakshadweep, the Delhis, they are called the Union Territories. They are very small to become the independent state here. And here they do not have powers of the state, and here the central government has power to run these areas here. So my dear children, already we have been talking about the power arrangements, and here the parliaments cannot on its own change these arrangements, and to make the changes in the society, the both houses of the parliaments, they must be concerned and they must be agreed. And we see that nearly 2/3 majority peoples should be agree, and after agreeing, the arrangements can be changed here. Otherwise, the arrangements is, the power sharing arrangements is not going to change. And to change the power sharing arrangement, nearly 2/3 majority of the parliaments, they should be agreed and they should pass the law here. Apart from that, my dear children, very briefly, I shall be telling you about the role of judiciary. Already we have learned the role of judiciary in class 9th, but just for the briefing, I shall be telling you very briefly about the role of judiciary. And what is the role of judiciary? Their role is to overseeing the implementations of the constitutions, that whether the constitutions is properly followed or not. So it is the duty of the judiciary to look into the matter of the constitutional provisions as well as the procedures. Apart from that, in case of there will be any issues related to the divisions of power, during that time the High Court as well as the Supreme Courts will look into the matter and they will make the decisions here. So there are certain times in our nations there will be issues which are related to divisions of power. Here the courts, that is such as the High Court as well as the Supreme Court, they will look into the matter and they will try to solve the issues that is related to divisions of power here. So my dear children, here apart from that, at the conclusion part, we see that the union government as well as the state governments, they have power to raise resources. And how do they do that? They used to levying taxes in order to carry out the several responsibilities in the nations. And how do they do that? They used to impose taxes, and whatever the taxes which comes into the treasury of union government as well as the state government, those monies are used for the development of the nations, for the development of the society, for the development of the country. So my dear children, this is how the power arrangements are seen in our nations. So dear children, here we see the power arrangements, and through these power arrangements, the power distributions, the divisions of powers which are carried out in Indian society. Because in Indian society also we see the diversity of culture, diversity of languages, diversity of regions, diversity of religions. In spite of all this diversity, we see the unity, and there is a equal power distributions which are happening in Indian society. So my dear children, this is the system of power distributions, that is such as the union list, the state list, the concurrent list as well as the residuary subjects. All these distributions of powers to the three tier of government makes India a very federal country. So here the terms federalism is not used directly, but we have the federal structures, we have the distributions power, and this is how the systems of power arrangements is seen in Indian society. And because of all these divisions of power, it makes India as a federal country. Thank you so much for listening to me.